Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the spoiler review for Jurassic World. I have with me here Sam the Man Gavin from Sam's channel, Sam's Reviews.
Roar!
How are you, dude? Roar!
That was my best impression of a T-Rex.
Oh.
And I hope to be cast in the next movie. And yeah.
Yeah, you could be Chris Pratt's younger brother. There you go.
Yeah. I don't think I'm quite toned to be his younger brother, but I can go to the gym a couple times.
Totally. Chris Pratt, what a champion, man. I love that dude.
What a champ.
Yeah, he's like you can't even really put a label on him, because he started out as this pudgy,
a real movie
doughy
star.
He started out this pudgy, doughy, every man's man, and then he became this like chiseled, superhero dude, and now he's just kind of like the coolest guy ever. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, someone asked online or something saying, cool, how did Chris Pratt go from zero to hero? And the answer is, he got fit. But yeah, I mean, he's a funny chap, and that means that when he comes out with his amazing looking, he's just got this pretty boy thing going on, we don't care, because he's a funny guy and he's nice and he didn't grow up being an asshole.
No, he's still got the fat man humor.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't mind looking silly.
Which everyone really needs in life.
Yeah. Well,
if you don't have it, you need it.
That's right. Well, this movie has actually been pretty divisive. Like, surprisingly, you wouldn't think that a Jurassic World movie can be divisive, but it seems to be, at least in the online world. Offline, everyone's just like, yeah, it was fine. But online, people are like, does it suck? Does it not? Where do you sit?
I enjoyed it. I think it's a positive 7.5 out of 10, something around there. It's I as a polar opposite to you, I kind of expected a divisive thing going on, because
really,
I mean, it's a sequel to Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park is, in my eyes, that film is the most perfect version of itself it ever could have been.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
The moral message doesn't get any clearer. The characters don't transcend the stereotypical archetypes they seem at the beginning any more than they do in the table scene. And Steven Spielberg, with all that, the direction and the magic he brings to that movie, you just can't beat that original film. Yeah. And I basically knew that, and I didn't expect Jurassic World to be better. I obviously would have hoped it would be as good, but at the same time as that, I saw the trailers and I thought, you know what? They're basically doing something very similar to the first film. The characters look a little cliche, but I'm going for some fun dinosaur action. I'm not expecting the magic of the first film again, and you know what? I actually really enjoyed it, and I've seen it twice now, because I saw it once, and then I saw a friend who I hadn't seen for about a year who was going to go see it, so I thought, oh, why not? And I enjoyed it even more the second time. So, it's a lot of fun, and I think there's a lot of good here. I'd say it's notably imperfect, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, because, I feel pretty much the same, and I feel like in Nostalgia Critic's video where he and his brother had this massive argument about it, and I might actually include a link, because Nostalgia Critic goes on this huge rant, which is hilarious, about it, and his brother's just sitting next to him going, ugh. But his brother made a good point. He's like, of course it doesn't match Jurassic Park 1. Even Steven Spielberg could not match his own movie when he tried to do the sequel, Lost World.
Yeah, that should have been the clear indicator.
Yeah, and I think it's also, I was thinking about this, and I think a lot of the wow factor, the awe and wonder, was because we had never seen special effects like that before. So the awe and wonder of seeing the dinosaurs was also the awe and wonder of seeing the CGI for the first time. We're never going to have that again, because special effects are not special anymore.
But also, the cinematic flair brought to the table by Spielberg, that direction. My favourite shot from the first film is when they first see that dinosaur. It's that first wow shot where they get out of the car and they're amazed. Yeah. And the camera
acting really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're really acting, and it's shot in a real location. The actors are there, and the camera goes underneath almost the actors, and it's looking directly above, and it's, you know, really gives this great sense of scale. And as much as I think Colin Trevorrow, is that his name, the director?
Yeah, that's him.
As much as I think he actually mimics the Spielbergian aesthetic quite well.
Yeah, he did a good job
of
mimicking that. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't. There are no shots like that. And even if you go back and watch the first Jurassic Park today, that sequence is still, you know, you still get goosebumps. And, you know, we've seen CGI done 1,000 times now, and we've all quite grown numb to it, really. But, you know, Spielberg still managed to make that work. Still, it's timeless, that moment. And as much as I did enjoy Jurassic World, it doesn't have that moment for me.
But I think yeah, I totally acknowledge all the problems with it, but the reason I think it's okay is because, like, it does what it's supposed to do. Like, comedies are supposed to make you laugh, horror movies are supposed to make you scream, dramas are supposed to make you cry. Jurassic World, or Jurassic franchise, above everything else, is supposed to make you stand up and cheer. And this did that. So, I mean, people can, you know, it's there to make you have fun, it's there to make you stand up and cheer. This did that. People can look and say, oh, the story could have been better here, or the character could have been better here. But that's not its primary purpose, you know? Like, saying that about a Jurassic movie is a little bit like complaining that Schindler's List didn't have enough jokes in it. You know? It's not that movie. It's not supposed to be like Dark Knight level complex, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I think it kind of gets a pass. Some people are like, why do we give this a pass, but none of the movies a pass? I think that's why, because it does what it's supposed to do. Let me ask you something, though, because just for all the listeners, obviously, you know, it's a spoiler discussion because the video is called Spoiler Talk, but I figure we'll just jump around wherever. But let me ask you, since you've seen this twice, I've noticed a lot of people didn't recognize this in the story, because some people are like, with the Indominus, they're like, how stupid were they to make the Indominus? Don't they know how dangerous it's going to be? They've made this weapon, and a lot of people didn't recognize that it's because Dr. Wu was actually working for the military. And they're like, well, how could the Indian guy not even know what kind of dinosaur was going on? Well, it's because Dr. Wu was like the Dennis Nedry, and he was taking that opportunity to genetically engineer a new dinosaur to make a prototype for what the military was hopefully going to turn into mini raptors for the army. So it's like, that's why it was literally built to be a weapon, because Dr. Wu was doing that without anyone knowing, because he was like working for the evil people, like Kingpin. Did you pick that up? You picked that up, right?
Yeah, I picked that up. I still think you could have. I think you could have cut that whole villain plot out of the film. Because
but I mean, it was good. It was a good way to explain why they would build that kind of dinosaur at all, because it is pretty insane. But obviously they went to him and said, just make a big scary one. But they didn't mean for him to actually make a living weapon like that, but he did.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they gave enough explanation when Chris Pratt just said, you know, it's been raised in this sealed-off environment, hasn't seen anyone else, hasn't seen outside of these walls.
Yeah.
It's going to be hostile. I thought that was a fine explanation. I just don't really think you need villains in human villains in a Jurassic Park movie. Besides, maybe as long as it's to touch on, you know, like the first movie, the only human villain gets, I mean, spoilers, he gets killed off within the first hour.
Yeah.
And really, the threat is the dinosaurs. And I just when you've got an Indominus Rex running around slaughtering anything and everything, do you really need bad guys and a conspiracy plot? I think maybe that could have been cut.
Yeah, I think it was all right, because it wasn't like the main thrust of the story. It was just there to service the bit of the story which you need, is like, don't mess with nature, because they always have that side of it. But you're mentioning that bit where Chris Pratt was talking about, I absolutely love that. I originally mentioned that in my non-spoiler review, but I cut it out. But I love that bit where Chris Pratt was saying, like, yeah, you've raised it in isolation. The only positive association it has is with this crane. Of course it's going to go crazy if it gets out. It doesn't even know what it is. When I saw that felt like that was originally supposed to be a bigger thing with the Indominus, like a theme that they were going to roll with. because there's a couple of times when they mention the Indominus, they say it's not a dinosaur, it's just a monster.
Yeah.
So it felt to me like that was originally going to be a theme of like, it's a monster, but it's a monster that we created, not just genetically, but also because we didn't raise it properly. But it seems like that all kind of got swept aside, and in the end they're just like, no, monster fight at the end. I was like, oh.
Yeah, and you still could have had that as well, because I like that idea, and I think one of the big things that makes Jurassic World faithful to the original is the notion that, you know, dinosaurs are beautiful creatures, and they're not just the monstrous brutes that they were portrayed to be in films prior, in the genre. And to say that the Indominus Rex is an evil monster from our making, I still think is a better moral message of not messing around with nature if we were sincere about it. If we genuinely thought, yeah, we can, you know, genetically modify dinosaurs and it won't be a big deal. And then it turned out there was actually some kind of plan about it. But it's a nitpick, I know. I still enjoy the film.
Yeah, but I still kind of thought like I was hoping that they'd go with that when he said that, because like it's kind of like there are no animals aren't really evil. They just do what they do. And, you know, like dogs that are vicious, like 99 times out of 100, it's because the owner hasn't bothered to train them. And that's basically what the Indominus was. It was a vicious dog, you know, that nobody had taken the time to train.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know, Chris Pratt has the line saying, or what does he say? He says she's finding out where she stands on the food chain. And then later, the big turning point when we realise this really isn't a dinosaur, this is a monster, is when he says, it didn't eat them, it's killing for sport. And that's a great distinction. Yeah. Mind you... Can I say my favourite thing about this film?
Sure, go for it.
I love the whole Chris Pratt Velociraptor thing. I think I think that's the film's strongest emotional anchor, and it's one of the things that the series hadn't exactly touched on before. And
that was such a great idea, wasn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of people were complaining about, you know, Pratt riding along on his motorbike in the trailers, which I always thought was a cool moment. That did not bother me. You expect schlocky moments in a Jurassic.
Can I just say, I called that, because everyone's like, how is he training him? I'm like, I don't think he's training him. I think he's been accepted as part of the pack, and he might have even imprinted on them when they were born, and that's exactly what it was. So, ego trip for me.
It's like men in the wild with lions, you know. Yeah, they have that relationship, that bond, and that could have been done poorly. That could have been done really sort of like cheesy and ham-fistedly.
But let me play devil's advocate, because I did have a lot of problems, particularly with the ending, because that was such a great storyline with him and the Raptors. And when there was the twist where they joined with the Indominus, I thought that was amazing. And then at the end, it was kind of like they didn't know what to do with it. You know, because at the end, they just kind of went, okay, now they're back with Chris Pratt again. And I was like, what? Come on, man. Well, I would have rathered it if they stayed evil.
I found it that, well, because I liked it. I mean, it's a bit... it gets a bit messy, but I saw it as the Indominus Rex is controlling them, and Chris Pratt doesn't want to control them. He just wants them to be free and cared for. So when he finally takes off the headset, they kind of, as minuscule as their minds may be, they understand the difference between Chris Pratt and the I-Rex.
Oh, you think that's what it was? I didn't really get that. I just thought it was they were trying to put like human emotions on them, and I was like, no, I wouldn't see that. Because particularly with Blue, I thought like in a pack situation like that, like the beta is always looking for an opportunity to overtake the alpha. So I was like, Chris Pratt would be dead. Like there would not be any loyalty, you know.
Yeah.
Like lions are like that. There's always the beta that waits in the wings. Hyenas are constantly fighting like that, and wolves as well. Like the guy who like lived in among wolves, he's like, if you show weakness for even a bit, then you're gone. So I didn't buy that they would sort of out of sympathy when they had him surrounded, they would just go, no, yeah, we're gonna be okay with you. But anyway, that's me being cynical.
It's a movie.
yeah, it wouldn't be great for the kids if it's like, oh, his raptors are just ripping him apart. The end. Roll the credits. But I think maybe monster movies are not my thing, because everyone's raving about the big monster battle at the end. I didn't really particularly like it, but I was thinking, I didn't really like the monster battle at the end of Godzilla either, so I thought maybe monster movies are just not my thing. Because, like, everyone's like, woo! Huge battle! And I'm like, yeah.
I enjoyed the finale, because it gets ridiculous and schlocky. And the raptor jumping on the back of the T-Rex, that's what I want to see, because it's just so silly, and the movie is playing it completely straight. I just love moments like that in films. And I was the only guy in the cinema clapping. I was the only guy in the cinema clapping when the sea dinosaur comes and just
I wrote this down. It's the Motosaurus. So just think of like motorboat, but it's like Motosaurus.
But yeah,
I mean motorboat as in
that.
one that you ride on the water. Just being clear. But that whole ending seemed like, I mentioned in my review, it's kind of like the director was just sort of throwing everything in, because he's like, yeah, we got to have that bit at the end, but it didn't really work for me. But it worked for you? Because I wasn't being too critical about the fact that there's dinosaurs, people are running from them, they're gonna fight. It was an inevitability at some point. Yeah. Great to see the T-Rex again. Great to see him. Like, I love the bit, like, because some people noticed this, some people didn't. But when he runs in to take on the Indominus, he smashes through a skeleton, and it's a Spinosaurus skeleton.
Yes.
The same dinosaur that killed him in Jurassic Park 3. So it's just like a giant middle finger right in the face of JP3. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, my cynical, I'm playing devil's advocate. My cynical brain was, T-Rex would have been dead. There's no way it would have survived fighting the Indominus. And even with the raptor jumping on its face, I was like, no, they'd both be dead. But it's fine.
I did wonder how they thought the Raptors were supposed to defeat the Indominus Rex, because that's a big mother,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But it was clever. They had the Motosaurus there in their back pocket, because they.
Yeah, I completely forgot.
It was promoted pretty heavily, wasn't it, that one? And it was kind of like, why? Who cares? But there was a reason for it. It's because he was going to come up and just swallow him.
And structurally, they made the very smart move to show us that at the very beginning, let us completely forget about him. He did show up for a little bit when they do the real Jaws moment with the Claire's assistant, or Beth's assistant. Which... poor woman, she didn't do anything wrong.
That was great.
But I thought that was a real tribute to Spielberg's Jaws. That couldn't have been anything else.
Well, that's for all the anti-feminist people out there who didn't like Fury Road because Charlize Theron had such a great character. That scene is for you guys.
What did you think of the children?
I hated the older brother.
Yeah, he was a bit of a...
Hated that character with his weird creeper eyes just staring at all these other girls, even though he already has a girlfriend, which was kind of weird.
Yeah,
and
they never reference that either.
Yeah, and they make like one mention of that, oh no, our parents are getting divorced, and they just completely forget about it, and they never...
Yeah, that's something they forget.
Yeah.
And that's not really... I suppose it's like, at least they're happy their kids are alive, I guess, but...
Yeah, but realistically, they'd still be getting a divorce at the end of it. Yeah, they were alright. I suppose there's not much to say about them, is there? What did you think of them?
I think the child actor, they're both. Well, the guy's probably 23 or something, but they're making him out to be like 16.
Yeah.
The younger brother, he's a very good actor. This is the same kid from Iron Man 3, and this kid's going places. But I mean, I found him funny a lot of times when he says, "Oh, they're going to shave our heads and send us to prison." And stuff like that.
Hey, let me ask you, with that scene with them, remember how they're in the bubble and they come up to the fence and it's ripped open and they're like, hey, let's go off-world. Like, when I first saw it, I thought maybe that's the Indominus had ripped the gate open to get out into the paddock, but he was still in the section that they went into. So watching it a second time, was there any clue of why that door was open? Because it couldn't have been the Indominus.
It must have. Well, maybe that's a lazy writing, but
Unless it ran through the paddock.
perhaps it ran through and then went back, or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know, because like I suppose it could have been running through the paddock and then broke into the restricted area, but if it was trying to get towards the park, it would have been heading the other direction. I don't know.
Maybe it just wanted the kids to go in.
It's the equivalent of it's the equivalent in Jurassic Park. Where did the Jeep stop? Uh-oh, right in front of the T-Rex paddock. What a coincidence. It's the equivalent of that.
Well, one major thing people don't spot in Jurassic Park is that that whole T-Rex exhibit, that's all leveled. You know, the and then when the car tips over, suddenly it's down a huge cavernous area, and suddenly there's a giant drop. And
it's true, isn't it? Where does that cliff come from?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
what
not
a
like
terrible movie.
It's not like the first film was completely devoid of imperfections.
Well, what about all the cell phones that keep cutting out in Jurassic World?
Yeah, that really does
get the critical moment when they're trying to say something. It's like, send a text.
Yeah.
You know, that'll work.
And there is no explanation for why their phones keep cutting out. It's just conveniency.
Yeah.
Or inconveniency in this case.
Oh, here's something. Like going back to the Raptors again. See, I said we'd like jump all over the place. Now, remember the beta was called Blue, and it had those blue stripes down it. Now in Jurassic Park 3, that was set on the second island, Site B, and that island had a mixture of male and female dinosaurs. And in the Raptors, the male dinosaurs had those colors, while the female ones were just the classic design that we saw from the first movie. Blue had colors. So was he a male? Because other raptors looked like they were the females. So was that raptor pack a mixture of males and females?
Didn't they say brothers and sisters? Didn't they have a line about that?
Ah, so they're all brothers and sisters.
I have a feeling I might just be making that up, but I'm pretty certain I heard Pratt say once or twice brothers and sisters.
Yeah. Well, that'd be good, yeah, because like I do know that like just from like looking up additional stuff about the movie, I don't know if there was a line saying it, but you know, in the first movie, they replaced the missing DNA with a frog, and that's how they changed gender. Yep. Apparently, in this, they swapped the frog DNA with bird DNA so that that doesn't occur again. So I was like, I didn't know whether he had those colors because he was male, or whether that was just a byproduct of them putting more bird DNA in, that they became more colorful. But that's
one of the things. I'm not sure. One of the things I like about this one is that it's since been discovered between Jurassic Park and Jurassic World that dinosaurs don't actually look as reptilian as we thought they did, and they descend more from birds. And there's a great exchange between Dr. Khan, is that his name? Or Mr. Khan? Whoever inherits the company from Hammond. The
Indian guy, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know his name,
Yeah, and he talks to the scientist, and the scientist basically comes out and says, you know, we've been doing gene slicing ever since from day one. You know, dinosaurs aren't supposed to look the way that we've made them look, but it makes them look cooler, and you wanted that. And I liked that line because it didn't beat anyone over the head, but it also wasn't a, you know, oh, we're going to be scientifically accurate and make them look like birds now, because that would be really boring.
Yeah.
they'd have feathers, they would not look as cool.
Yeah, and that's true with the raptors, yeah, because some people say that, why don't they make them 2 foot tall and with feathers? It's like, because then they're turkeys.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Yeah, you know, anyone
Who cares
saying
if that's
you know,
accurate,
raptors,
you know?
Yeah, anyone saying the raptors need to be bigger, you're watching a movie where they bring dinosaurs back to life. Come on now.
But also apparently with the Indominus, one of the other genes they spliced in was snake DNA, which is part of the reason why the Indominus could open its jaws so wide, because, you know, snakes can do that. Particularly when it was like biting the hamster ball. You could see its mouth open really wide.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That was a cool moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the whole sequence where they found the original site?
I like that. I was a little bit worried at first. I was like, we're not going to go into full-on nostalgia territory, but I don't think they did. You know, there was like a couple little references, but then you were like, oh, moving on. So I didn't really mind it. How about you?
Yeah, I was a bit torn on it at first. First time I saw it, I thought, okay. But the second time I saw it, I thought, you know what, it's fine. I like, you know, it's okay to be a little bit nostalgic every now and then. Yeah. You know, the movie doesn't have any characters from the original film, and that's quite ballsy. You know, Star Wars isn't doing that.
Well, it has Dr. Wu, but he's the only one.
Yeah, and it's not like he was exactly
he wasn't really the same character. He was like a bad guy.
And if you saw Jurassic World, if you saw Jurassic Park one time, you probably wouldn't have remembered that character.
Well, you know what? I remembered him because back in the day, I was a really big Seinfeld fan, and I remember after Jurassic Park came out, he's like, he said, the only other time he'd really been known is when he was in a Seinfeld episode, where the one line he said was gonorrhea, because he's a doctor and he's trying to guess the sickness that patients are acting out, like in medical school, and Kramer does this big thing about, you know, big dramatic piece about describing the symptoms. He's like, gonorrhea. So now every time I see that actor, I'm like, gonorrhea. So I recognised him, but I was probably the only one.
But like, yeah, so, you know, it's, I think the film appropriately wasn't too nostalgic with the whole thing. One thing that doesn't quite make sense is that
can I just interrupt for just one sec? Just
Sure.
before we move on, like, for people saying it's too nostalgic, you got to bear in mind this is the first time that they have ever returned back to that original island before. All the other sequels were on a different island, so they're okay to throw in a few nostalgic references because it's the first time we've ever been back. So anyway, sorry, I just wanted to say that.
Very true. What was I going to say?
I know, I'm distracted you. What are you going to say?
Always have that moment. It's when, towards the beginning, one of the characters has a Jurassic Park t-shirt on. And Bryce Dallas Howard says, don't you think that's a bit insensitive? And at the same time as that, you've named it Jurassic World.
But it was a good way. Again, it was a good way to mention that they're aware of what's happened. You know,
yeah, they're not pretending like that first film never
that,
occurred.
Yeah. Actually, the Clumsy Toaster, he's another YouTuber. He had, when he reviewed the original trailer, he had a really funny bit because in the trailer where the mum's saying to them, "If you see any dinosaurs coming, run," and Clumsy Toaster was like, you know, people died. I mean, that's a bit like if you were getting in a plane on September 11 and the mum's like, if you see any planes heading towards any towers, run. He's like, it's really not funny.
I did actually like that character though. I thought she was good. I would have liked if she went on the island.
Yeah, she was good, wasn't she? You know who else I liked is the control room guy. Remember, he has that dramatic moment and he's like, someone has to stay behind. I'll do it. Then he goes to kiss that girl. She's like, I got a boyfriend. He's like, oh, okay.
Poor lad. Oh, yeah, you never mentioned
that was a great bit. that was like a moment where, like, if you ever try to do stuff that works in movies in real life, that's how it would happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that could have been a moment that, I mean, I was getting ready to cringe. So they made that work very well.
It was also interesting because, like, even though, like you said, there was pretty much no cast apart from Dr. Wu. There was like no original cast from Jurassic Park. So, like, the Life of Pi actor, man, I really wish I could remember his name, but he was kind of in a way was being the new Hammond because, you know, he sort of says that he sort of took over the park and he was trying to sort of honour the memory of Hammond, and he had that same sort of Walt Disney aspect to him of like, it's all fun and blah, blah, blah. Dreams come true. He had that whimsical nature to him.
Yeah.
So he was kind of it's like, if he thinks he's honoring the memory of Hammond, maybe he didn't see the sequels because after Jurassic Park, Hammond did everything he could to try to stop the park being opened.
Yeah.
Hammond would not have been happy that park even existed, but, whatever, we just overlook that.
I mean, the one criticism I have of that character, and by the way, the actor's called Irfan Khan, probably doing a complete injustice to the pronunciation of that name.
Right.
But
let's just call him Khan. We'll call him Mr. Khan.
Yeah, let's just call him
Khan. Khan! He's a fantastic actor, though. Brilliant actor.
He's very good.
Yeah.
I liked... where was I going? Yeah, my one criticism is that he... at first seems there are scenes where he seems very like the Disney magical, like you were just saying, and then there's one or two scenes towards the beginning where he seems very corporate and businessy, like he doesn't care about humans.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to being magical and stuff. That was a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah, I thought that as well. Like when the Indominus is bearing down on Chris Pratt, he's like, "Close the door." He's like, "Close it," and like he did the right thing. But, it's kind of weird for his character to swing from, oh, everyone's great, to just like this, close it now. I don't care if we seal him in. Yeah, so I agree.
Yeah, and also I'm such a nitpicker. I'm a critic. The moment with the helicopter, that would have played much better if they didn't show us a scene before of him getting inside the helicopter, because when they play it off later and Beth goes, "Sorry, who's riding the helicopter? Who's flying the helicopter?" and then it cuts to them and the music comes up, that should have been the reveal moment.
Yeah, that would have been a cheer moment. You'd be like, "Yay, Mr. Khan!
Yay, Khan!
Khan!
Khan!"
But that's going to be the gonorrhea line from now on. Whenever I see that guy, I'll be like, "Khan!"
But back to the going to visit the old site, I particularly liked how they used the sign that fell from the first movie for the fire. I thought that was a nice little touch.
Yeah, and you saw the little goggles, the little night vision goggles.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, those, like, they'd certainly armed up, like, they'd covered all the island with all these guys to, like, they had, like, tons of, like, soldier dudes to catch the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They weren't really very good, were they?
No.
Like, even when the first team goes after Indominus, and, like, when he starts, like, ripping them apart, and they've got those taser guns, but they were taser guns that you have to walk up to and get next to and, like, press. Like, you can't even shoot them from a distance and the taser, like, hits them. And I was like, don't you know how big these dinosaurs are? And you have to get right up next to it? Make it a gun thing. It's like, oh, man.
Yeah. And the one bit of technology they had that worked was the thing that read their life signs. So the most they can tell is that they're all dead.
I would have liked to see more of the Indominus camouflaging too. He did it one time.
Yeah, that was cool. They never... I was a little confused as to how he managed to not get picked up, or with the
heat signal.
How his signal managed to not get picked up when he was still in the cage.
Yeah.
Because I'd assume it was some kind of... I mean, it's thermal stuff, so he couldn't have camouflaged out of that. So who knows?
Yeah, like somehow it was able to like drop its body temperature, or that
perhaps.
was a bit strange.
Yeah. But it made for a very cool sequence.
And it's interesting as well, because later on when Khan tells Dr. Wu that he's like, it dropped off heat detection, he's like, I didn't even know it could do that. And it's like, well, then why did you put heat sensors in there if you didn't even know it could do it?
Yeah.
You know? You've already got a tracker in it. You don't need heat detection as well. What a strange thing to do if you don't know.
Yeah.
But,
what did you think?
It was a little inconsistent on how smart it was as well, because it set up that whole thing of scratching up the wall to make it look like it had escaped, so they would open the gate and then it could get out. But then it doesn't think to flip the car that Chris Pratt is under. So it was a little inconsistent.
Well, I mean,
You could say it was freaking out because it was outside of the enclosure, but you know.
Well, he was smelling. I mean, he could smell the other dude that he actually did eat, whereas Pratt put all that gasoline all over him.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's right.
So, but I can only assume
it did sort of pick up the car to see the fat guy still. So it's surprising it still didn't like try to flip the car just to see Chris Pratt. See, now I'm nitpicking.
What did you think of Vincent, the Kingpin? I can never say his surname.
Vincent D'Onofrio?
D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio, yeah. I know him as Kingpin too. Yeah, I just like that actor. I really did kind of enjoy his military bad guy. Like, yeah, some people say it's a cliched villain. I suppose it kind of is. But there was logic in what he was doing, I think, like to a certain extent. You know, like he wants to like weaponize raptors and use them. And I thought, well, you know, like certain types of dogs, like German shepherds and that, you can train to be like in the police or like detect mines or whatever. So it's like, you don't know what the parameters of a raptor is, whether it's an animal that can be trained yet. And he does talk about, you know, we can just breed the lines that are more susceptible to, you know, being told what to do. And I was like, yeah, that could probably work. Like a couple of generations of that, you could get a raptor that's pretty trainable. So it kind of made sense to me. And his death was surprisingly gory.
I like how I just love that reaction of his.
Holding out his head, we're on the
oh my god!
Side. Ah, my head!
But I mean, I would have liked it more if he didn't seem you could still have had that character seem genuine, like you really truly believe that they could save lives with doing this mission. But he's smiling and getting excited when everything starts going awry at the park. That kind of stuff borders on cartoon territory.
That's right. Well, I was surprised also that like when he died, they just do the blood spray and go. Psh,
I love the blood spray.
Like,
I think that's brilliant.
That's pretty gutsy for.
They did it with one of the guards as well, with blowing through the leaves. In one of the shots, the Indominus Rex is biting someone up in the air and blood squirts down. I like those shots because that's very classy.
What did you think about the original, the T-Rex that defeats the Indominus with the help of the Raptor and the Motosaurus? What did you think about the T-Rex being the original T-Rex? Did you like that, or did it not really matter to you?
It didn't really matter to me. I got the sense. I mean, the whole thing really is to reference. Is a nod to the original movie. So whether or not it's the original or a new one, doesn't really bother me. He looks like the same dude.
Oh no, he definitely is, because
he
had scars on his neck from where the raptor attacked him in the first one. And towards at the end where he does the roar, or she, I should say, does the roar over the island, you see it's got all the new cuts from the Indominus, but the cuts where the raptor did it was like white because there was like scar tissue in it. So it definitely was the same T-Rex.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm fine with that. You know, it's as long as no one has to come out and go, this is the same one from the original. As long as it's just a subtle nod that fans can pick up on, that's fine. That's always a fun little bit.
Yeah, that was definitely great.
Yeah.
I would have liked it, though. Sorry, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, I was slightly distracted by Bryce Dallas Howard's high heels when I realised she'd been wearing those the whole film.
Why did they do that?
Yeah, and then they even have a slow motion shot. They even have a slow motion close up of her feet running away from them. Yeah,
like just to show us, oh, she's still wearing the high heels. Maybe it was supposed to be like an attempted joke or something.
Well, I think it was just supposed to be that, you know, they're building anticipation for the meeting with the T-Rex and the Indominus Rex, but you know, it's like they forgot she was wearing high heels, and there were some people laughing in the cinema the second time I saw that, and that shot came up.
Well,
I
was laughing
at the whole film.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, go on.
I was laughing at the slow motion of Blue the Raptor running to save the day.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but laugh. That just looked really funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the whole
Because in
thing
my
is
mind, I'm still like, he wouldn't help. He's like,
yeah.
he's not evil
Yeah,
because he's
it
a
is
predator.
quite a bit
Predator
like,
would not
oh no,
jump
a minor
into that.
inconvenience.
Yeah. Like, a raptor would probably, like, if he had all the rest of them, he might attack, but they would still be like, let's wait until one is dead and the other is almost dead, and then we'll jump in, and we'll have plenty of meat. But I don't think he would jump right into the fray. And even so, the Indominus would just kill him immediately. See, I'm being devil's advocate here. Sorry, guys. I did like the movie.
I mean, I think like it was basically just meant to be, especially how it basically takes 3 dinosaurs to kill this guy. I think it's basically them saying it's the dinosaurs teaming up to defeat a monster, basically. And I like that. I mean, it's silly and schlocky, but I thought the finale was very entertaining. It was a nice little nod to the finale of the original, and it's just schlock. I love I love monstrous schlock that knows when it's silly, but also knows when to really go for the popcorn moments. And
it was also like, for also like people like you and I who love to read way too much into things. It was also an interesting take, because the whole thing of like, we got to create the Indominus because people are bored of dinosaurs, we got to take it to the next level. That was also a commentary of people are bored with special effects, always got to take it to the next level. And that's why there were so many shots of that older kid like on his phone and not paying attention to the dinosaurs. Because I thought that was a really smart way to sort of get around the whole thing of like, it doesn't have the wow factor of Jurassic Park, and it's sort of represented in the movie like, because we're used to it now, just like the people in the movie are used to it now.
I think the film is very self-aware. I think it kind of provides a commentary on itself that, you know, people aren't wowed anymore by stuff. You know, like I said, we've grown numb to special effects, and like you said, Jurassic Park was the big wow, we can actually do this stuff. And it's been horribly abused ever since. And so the most Jurassic World can really do is be a fun film. And my one criticism of the effects, you know, the dinosaurs look as good as you can make them look, but there are some prime opportunities for some practical animatronic work, and they don't take it. The one scene where they do use you could tell it's a practical animatronic head, with one of the dinosaurs dying. That scene plays so brilliantly. And, you know, right in front of the camera, it looked like a real dinosaur. I love that moment. And the fact that the film opened with some eggs hatching. And, you know, they managed to make a dinosaur coming out of an egg in 1993. You know, you couldn't have shot that. You know, I know it's, you know, so one of my friends told me, you know, we don't live in that time anymore. It's an unfortunate time we live in, but we just don't do that anymore. And my answer to that is, who's making that cool? Who decides that what's stopping us from doing that? You know.
Can I say something extremely controversial?
Oh, go for it.
Actually, I would kind of rather CG than actual practical effects a lot of the time in a monster movie like this. Well, I mean, like, obviously if the CG's terrible, no, I want practical effects. But CG's gotten to the point where it's like, with like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, where it is so flawless that there's no way an animatronic puppet could look that good. And like, even when they had that bit where they were, you know, with the Brontosaurus head that you were talking about, I was still like, yeah, that would look better if it was CG.
Really?
So I think it's like the, like obviously the problems with CG is if it looks terrible or if the actors have nothing to react to. So I think if you get really good computer generated look to everything, and if you got people in ping pong ball suits that the actors can still interact with, then I would rather that every day of the week than animatronics.
Fair enough. I disagree.
Sorry, everyone, but it is better.
I disagree, but the execution in the movie is very good. You know, the reactions to the dinosaurs all feel genuine. You feel like the dinosaurs are there. I mean, the human eye can detect when something really is not in front of the camera, and that's my big hookup with CGI in general. But that's a very vague and simplistic criticism of computer generated effects.
Yeah.
But
you see
you
what
know,
I'm saying?
it's mainly the close-ups. Like if you have the dinosaurs fighting, of course that's going to be CGI, and that should be CGI. You know,
obviously.
That's the best way you can have those kind of shots. And if there's a dinosaur roaring in, you know, in the establishing shots, yeah, that's fine. Make that CGI. I'm absolutely fine with the shots that need to be CGI, but it's the very, very, very close-up ones where the heads are right in the face of the camera, and I just think, you know, texture-wise and all that kind of stuff, just have it in front. Have actually something in front of the camera. But
don't you think though? Because like, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but like as you say, the human eye can detect fakeness really well. I actually think when we're talking about the top-notch CG in the fine detailed stuff, like again talking about the apes, the detail of every single like hair on them is perfect. And if you have like an actual puppet, it's going to look like a puppet compared to the CG. Don't you think? Like, CG is getting to the point now where it is almost better than a puppet could ever be.
It's that tangibility in front of the camera, dude. Like, I can't. I completely understand what you're saying. You know, the dinosaurs look fantastic. They look really good. I think perhaps maybe there's a little too much movement going on, and you know that you need a bit of restraint. You know, human faces have subtleties in them. Not everything moves around when you talk and you move your mouth.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a very, very specific criticism.
Well, like,
but
I suppose
it's something in front of the camera. For me, it's that tangibility. You can always tell, and I don't think computer graphics have quite got there just yet, where we can actually look at an actual something shot in front of the camera and then look at a CG recreation of that and not be able to tell the difference. I think our eyes are too good for that.
You're right. We can tell the difference between like real life and CG, but we can also tell the difference between real life and a puppet. Like, I think it's just a question of which looks less silly on screen. Like, you take, for example, the first shot of the egg hatching. I honestly think, like, if that was done practically and they had a little rubber Indominus breaking out of a fake egg, I think it would have looked kind of silly.
Well, that's
because you'd be like, haha, it's the Muppets. But the CG
that's
of
a
it
good point.
Great.
I was thinking about how I would have done that scene myself. I would have had the eggs be real and put a CGI dinosaur in there. You know, have a mix of the two. You know, just because it was the opening shot. You know, that's the main thing, because I just feel like the opening shot should be something you actually shot.
Maybe the rule of thumb is that then. Yeah, maybe that's the rule of thumb.
Maybe we should all just get along.
Just put them more hand in hand.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's the whole. I still think the first Jurassic Park, I think it's seamless, the integration between the CG effects and the practicals. And again, the close-ups are practical heads, and the shots that need to be CG are CG. And it's that Spielberg flair. You just can't match it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is Spielberg, because like,
you
go back to Jurassic Park 3, and I mentioned this in my review of that movie. Like, in the special features of the DVD, they go on and on about how they pretty much used Spielberg's formula for using the actual like animatronic puppets up close and only using.
Was it still
the CG.
Stan Winston? Was it still Stan Winston in the for the third film?
Yeah, it was. But even though they sort of followed Spielberg's guidebook of how to film it, it really doesn't look very good. So it's like, it's such a difficult thing to do right, isn't it? So that's why I think maybe just CG is better.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I'm going to get so hated for that, I know. But CG doesn't bother me anymore, if it's good CG. But anyway. Well, where do you reckon they could go with the sequel if they do make a sequel?
Well, I mean, I'll say this up front: don't make a sequel, because I know this has just recently news has just come in that this is something like the second highest grossing opening weekend of all time, or something like that.
Yeah, and
that Universal will look at that, and instead of cheering, they'll go, right, let's greenlight that sequel, because that's what they do. But I think this is as good as you can do it. This is.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere. Like, look at the narrative. It's essentially using the exact same structural mainframe of that original film.
Yeah.
humans think they can control something that they can't control, and then look, everything goes tits up. And there's even the line by one of the fellow raptor trainers, these people never learn. And I think it gets comical. It gets more comical each time they muck up, and I think this was a nice, faithful, spiritual successor to the original film. Obviously, it can't be as good, but there's a sincerity there. It's not harmful at all. I don't think it's insulting in any way. And it's a fun movie, and I think it touches on new ideas that can resonate. And I just don't think I think there's no excuse for another one. But if they do another one, bring Chris Pratt back.
Really, you think so? Yeah.
Well, he's already signed on for more films, so.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, like, obviously any, like, idea or premise for a story only has so far you can go with it before you start repeating yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I think they've sort of done everything you could really do. I mean, they brought in, like, as many different original concepts as they could with this, and it was still sort of in the framework of retreading Jurassic Park. So if they were to do a sequel, I thought, the only thing I can really think of that they could do that might be something new that hasn't been done before is something that I seriously doubt they would ever do, which is, like, tell like one of these stories again, except tell it from the point of view of the dinosaurs. That'd be the only thing they could really do again. Like, make your main character a dinosaur that's on the Jurassic World island, and you follow that dinosaur. You see the world through that dinosaur's eyes. Humans come on to steal eggs or whatever they do. And, like, I mean, that's the only other thing I could think of that they could do that isn't just recycling something they've already done.
Yeah. I mean, I support doing new things with the material, and I think that's why sequels are better than remakes. But that idea in particular, I can't imagine being done without feeling too silly.
Yeah. Well, I was daydreaming about it, and I was like, maybe you could make it that, like, one kid that got carried off by the pterodactyls that everyone assumes is dead, like, fell into the jungle and, like, survived, and then it's like Tarzan meets Castaway meets Jurassic Park.
Well, there is a movie.
Maybe he's raised by T-Rexes, and it ends with him, like, riding a T-Rex going, woo! Woo!
There is a Disney movie out there called Dinosaur, where it's basically Tarzan, and a dinosaur egg manages to get into the hands of some monkeys, and he grows up to live with the monkeys. I've never seen the movie, but
yeah,
it sounds like a very similar film.
I mean, yeah, the only other thing they could do
just
is
go watch that.
The only other thing they could do is the dinos get smarter and take the attack to the humans, which is already done in Planet of the Apes. Or people start getting dinosaurs as pets, and everything goes wrong, which is also kind of Planet of the Apes, in one of the sequels of that. So yeah, there's not much else they can really do.
Who owns Planet of the Apes? Is it 20th Century Fox?
I don't know.
Hang on.
Right.
Because if they're both owned by one company, I'm going to suggest a crossover.
That could actually work.
Okay, well, they're not owned by one company, but they should totally cross over.
Actually, come to think of it, that'd be great. Like, after the apes have wiped out the humans, there's still one island full of dinosaurs. And it becomes dinosaurs versus intelligent apes. That'd be interesting.
And Khan's there. Oh, it'd be great.
We'll put that on the list. We'll put that on the list of all the other crossovers that will never happen, Godzilla and King Kong and...
I still don't believe that they're actually doing a Ghostbusters thing with attractive actors. I don't get what's going on there.
I've heard about it, but is it with all girl Ghostbusters or all guy Ghostbusters? Because I've heard both.
They're doing multiple versions. There's one with all girls. There's one with Chris Pratt, and
that's ridiculous.
Apparently Chris Hemsworth is going to be the receptionist or something. What? Sounds like it. It's Sony. Who knows? They'll probably just say they're doing it and then never do it.
See, when they first said they were going to do it with all girls playing the Ghostbusters, I thought that's actually really clever. Because it kind of gives it a new...
a different twist on it.
Yeah, but then I heard that, no, they are putting guys in it, and I thought, it's another generic reboot, and then I just got really confused. But Okay, that sounds confusing. Maybe we can cross them over with our Jurassic Park Planet of the Apes thing.
Let's just cross the Avengers and dinosaurs and apes. Let's
Terminator
just do it
goes back, you know. Jurassic World Genesis with a Y.
Are you looking complete topic change? Are you looking forward to Terminator?
Yeah, I am. But,
so am I. I really hope it's good.
You are?
I really
You're
hope
looking forward to it?
I really hope it's a case of bad trailer, really good film, because it looks like a lot of fun.
That really surprises me. I thought you were going to be like, I can't wait to tear this movie a new one.
No, I'm a casual Terminator fan. I love the first two films, and I even like 3 and 4 with their flaws and all.
Yeah.
But this looks like it could be a colossal mess, but I really still want to see it.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like, because it could be a train wreck, there's also that appeal, isn't it? Where you're like, this could go really bad. Let's see
either it's going to be surprisingly good, or it's going to be entertainingly bad.
Yeah.
And either way, they've got Arnold back, so let's just enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's often the problem when, we're in the age of reboots and they reboot an old thing, is that people, they look back but they remember the best of the franchise, and they forget that, like, whether it's Jurassic World or Terminator or whatever, or RoboCop, the franchise was run into the ground a long time ago. There's no place to go but up. So even if it doesn't match up to the original, it's still a lot better. So even in Terminator Genesis, of course it's not going to be as good as Terminator 2, but it's going to be great. James Cameron said he really loved it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. You got James Cameron giving it his support.
Yeah. And
so,
it's like,
fingers crossed, everyone.
Yeah, but some people have said, but didn't he also say Terminator 3 was good? And it's like, yeah, but it's pretty obvious. Like, he was just saying that drunk. Because he can't publicly come out and say Terminator 3 sucks.
He was drunk, who knows?
Yeah. But the extent to which he praised Terminator Genesis seems genuine to me.
Yeah. He's obviously not going to go public and say he didn't like the movie, but he also does. Oh, blimey! So I live right by a train station, and the train just blew its horn, so I got.
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah. You thought it was a pterodactyl coming in.
Yeah, they're all coming for me. I stole an egg. But yeah, what are we talking about? James Cameron.
Yeah.
Who knows? I've already forgotten what I was talking about. I'm looking forward to the film.
Yeah, me too. All right, dude. Well, I think I don't really have anything else on my list.
No, I'm all conversationed out about Jurassic World, but people go see it. It's a fun time.
I got woman ripped up by the pterodactyls. Talked about that. Kids starting the old Jeep. Who cares about that?
They can start a car. Yippee!
Yep, that's pretty much everything I got. All right. Do you want to say anything else before I wrap up?
Nothing more than thanks for having me back on, dude. I love doing these. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot of fun. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us. If you want to check out Sam's channel, you can click on the card in the top right corner of the screen or on the link below in the description. I am Bandit. This is Bandit Incorporated. Till next time, I'll see you guys in the comments.